My name is Francis, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to stop reacting to your thoughts, because a lot of us are unconsciously reacting to our thoughts, thinking that we're reacting to the situation, not realizing that we're actually reacting to our own thoughts about the situation. And when you're reacting to your thoughts, when you're in reactivity, when you're reacting to life, you actually stay stuck in that same reality, and you make things way harder for yourself, because when you're reacting, you stay stuck in that reality over and over and over until you break that autopilot cycle of reactivity that is happening usually unconsciously. So if you're new to this channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell, because I post a new video every single day. Also, if you wanted to become a private client, then consider applying for a free consultation by hitting the website that's in the description box of this video. So the first way to stop reacting to your thoughts is actually first to realize that you have the reaction to begin with, because most people don't even realize that they have these unconscious reactions to situations. They think that they're the ones doing it. They think that they're choosing everything, and you are to an extent, but at a deeper level, actually the unconscious autopilot response is controlling you in that moment. You have an unconscious reaction, and we don't realize that we are reacting to the situation, and that our thoughts are not just reacting to the situation, but we are reacting to our thoughts about the situation. We are reacting to our own thoughts, and then we go for that ride of one thought leading to another thought, leading to another thought, leading to another thought, where if you actually had awareness of that first thought, that first emotion that made you react to that situation, and you realize what was really going on, that would be the first step to actually stopping that reaction and stopping that reactivity to the negative thought. And also, there's no such thing as a good or bad thought. There's just thoughts, but because we're reacting to that thought, we label it as bad. And the labeling of that thought being bad is part of the reaction, because in reality, what you can do is just observe that thought, which is actually the second step. So the first step is to make sure that you realize that you're actually reacting to begin with. Have awareness that you actually are reacting, because if you don't, well, then you're not going to be able to even stop the pattern, because you can't let go of something that you're unconscious of. How can you let go of something that you're not even conscious of the fact that you're doing it? You can't let go of something unless you are first conscious of it. So that's the first step. And the second step is to become the observer and the awareness of that reactive pattern. Okay? Just be there as the witnessing presence. Be there as the observer. Don't be there as the ego, as the person, but be there as the pure empty consciousness and awareness that can simply observe that thought happening as a result of that situation. And you realize that when you become conscious of that first thought, when you just observe that first thought, instead of allowing that thought to lead down many other thoughts, and then you go on the roller coaster ride of one thought that leads to the next thought, that leads to the next thought. And by the way, all of this is blocking your manifestation. All of this is blocking everything that you want to create in your life. But when you observe that first thought, when you see that thought, usually that would lead to a million other thoughts. But you can just be there as the witness of that thought, and you can stop attaching to it. Just be there as the observer, as the witnessing presence, as the consciousness. Create that spaciousness between who you really are as the awareness and the thoughts about who you think you are, and do not react to it. Do nothing. So I'll give you a perfect example so this is perfectly clear to you. Let's say you're at your house, and then something happens, and then family drama arises in your experience, okay? And this is totally normal. Sometimes family drama can arise, and then maybe somebody with a low vibration energy is trying to get into your energy, and maybe they themselves are in a reactive state. Maybe they're trying to make you react, because what happens is when you're in the presence of somebody that has a very big ego, and you're in the presence of somebody that's very angry or very unconscious, which is not a good or bad thing, it's just the way that it is. when you're in the presence of that individual, what happens is usually unconsciously we match that energy, and then that reactivity brings the reactivity within us as well, because we reflect that. And then they're reactive, and because they're reactive and they're angry, then you become angry and you follow that pattern, and you take that pattern and you take it unconsciously. But what I'm proposing to you is that you can break this entire cycle, realize first that you are actually in fact reacting unconsciously. Admit to yourself that you are reacting. Notice when you're reacting. And then the second step, once again, observe that reaction and do not feed into it. Because I'm not asking you to not feed into that person or not feed into a life situation. I'm not asking you to not react to anything outside of you. That's the paradox. You might be thinking, well, okay, Francis is teaching me not to react to life. Not at all. I'm teaching you not to react to your reaction about life. Okay? That's the paradox. Do not react to your own reaction. Because a lot of the times, we actually react to our reaction. We react to our reaction, and then it goes into a loop, and it goes on a roller coaster forever until you break that cycle and become conscious of what is really happening, which is an unconscious ego thing that's happening without you even realizing it. So observe the reaction, do not feed into it, and just simply be there as the consciousness. Don't be there as the person. Don't be there as a person that is observing anything. Because you, as the awareness, are actually observing the person that you think you are, the ego, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions. But none of these are who you actually are. That reactive pattern, that emotional pattern, that thought pattern is not actually who you are. It is an unconscious pattern that you were unconsciously identified with. And I'm teaching you how to disidentify, stop creating an identity around that pattern, and just simply be there as the awareness. Be there as the consciousness. And then as you observe it, you might feel this urge to feed into it and maybe argue back. And you might be like, well, Francis, I understand what you're saying, but this time it's serious. Isn't there some situations, Francis, where I have to react because that's part of life? You tell me. Is that necessarily true? Or is that your ego trying to rationalize why it's okay to fall down to low vibrational energy? Trying to survive. I'm proposing that you don't have to do this. You don't have to react at all. And if you do react, well, guess what? You can observe that reaction. You can get to a point in your life where you are very unreactive. Low vibration energy does not have to impact you as much. And if it does, you observe it and you're able to let it go very, very quickly because you've trained that consciousness. You've trained the mindfulness muscle, so to speak, which I just call pure empty consciousness, observing forms in reality. Forms meaning thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Okay, there's no such thing as a good or bad thought. And so the third point to conclude all of this, how to stop reacting to your negative thoughts. And once again, keep in mind that there is no such thing as a negative thought. That is a construct of your mind. The fact that you are labeling it as negative is in fact the reaction to begin with. The reaction and the ego labels it as negative. There's just the conscious awareness that is observing what is. And what is just neutral. There's nothing good or bad. It just is what it is. And the counterintuitive thing is that if you were able to just observe it, you would notice that is the way to let it go. Which brings me to the third point, which is to fully allow it to be there. Okay, and when I say allow it to be there, don't confuse this with unconsciously feeding into the reaction even more. I'm saying the exact opposite. I'm saying the consciousness and the observing actually is the allowing. Because when you're fully conscious of something and you're fully observing it, there cannot be resistance. Resistance implies unconsciousness. Resistance implies that there's some level of unconsciousness and you're not aware of what's happening. Because if you're fully conscious with what is, there cannot be resistance. If you're fully conscious of resistance, there cannot be resistance because you are now letting go of that resistance. And when you allow the resistance to be there, you actually let it go. The only way resistance can persist is if you resist resistance or react to the reaction, which is keeping you stuck in the loop. The loop is created by the lack of consciousness. When you are there as the conscious witnessing presence of that reaction, of that thought, of that emotion, of that form in reality, it cannot persist any longer. Because what you resist actually persists. But when you are conscious of the resistance and you allow the resistance to be there counterintuitively, then you are actually letting it go. So the consciousness is the allowing. The allowing and the consciousness and the letting go all comes together as one. Your willingness to observe and allow leads to acceptance. And then when you accept, you then go to love and joy and peace counterintuitively. But you have to first just allow it to be there. Allow it to be there, meaning be fully conscious of it and do not resist it. So negative energy comes at you, you notice your ego coming up, do nothing. Don't do anything, be with what is. Just be the conscious observer. Don't do anything. Don't even call up your friend, because normally the ego, something happens and then you react to that person. Some life situation happens. Well, guess what? You grab your phone and then you call up a friend and you go, I can't believe this situation happened to me. Why is this happening, man? This is so crazy. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Something happens, you have a reaction. Number one, notice that you're reacting. Number two, become the awareness and the observer of the reaction. Observe your thoughts. Become conscious of the sensation of your breathing, right? Notice the sensation of your breathing. When you're reacting, are you present to the moment? Usually not. Usually we're unconsciously stuck in our minds when we're reacting. We're identified with our minds. Shift your awareness, become conscious of the sensation of your breathing. Observe your thoughts. Observe your emotions. Do not create an identity around that reaction, because that reaction is not who you are. It's not who you are. You may think it's who you are because you identify with it in that state of unconsciousness, but is it actually who you are? Is a reaction who you are? Or is it the conditioned part of you where you are unconsciously identified and attached to some past conditioning that then comes up in that present moment experience? Okay, that's the deeper question you should be asking yourself. And don't just ask yourself the question, don't just believe me. Notice the reaction and be like, oh my God, this is not who I am. This is an unconscious reaction that happens without me even realizing it. That's the point you want to get to. You want to get to the point where you realize that your reactions are not even who you are. They are unconscious reactions that you have adopted from the conditioning of society, probably from your family, probably from society, probably from school. But the thing is, you can't judge yourself for it or them, because it's not like they intentionally created this identity and you attached to it and they intentionally said, this person is going to attach to this. No, they are unconscious as well. They don't even know. They themselves are reacting to their own story and reacting to their own reactions. And then you have that pattern. But with the consciousness and awareness technique that I'm sharing with you right now, you can break that pattern, complete the past, let go of the conditioned part of you, and then ascend to a higher state of consciousness. Ascend to the higher state of consciousness where things aren't happening to you, but they are in fact happening for you. Because that reaction, that low vibration energy is actually there for you so that you can let it go, complete it, and then ascend to a higher state. Because think about it like this. If there was nothing happening to you, what would you have to ascend? There would be nothing to ascend to if you had nothing happening. If you didn't have an ego, if you didn't have an unconscious part of you, there would be no part of you to become conscious of, and you would already be one with God. You would already be one with everything. with literally everything, meaning that you are no thing. You are connected to the oneness of all that is. So part of the game that we're playing is that there is something to become conscious of, which is the unconscious part of your ego, which is bringing the light to the darkness. So even though it might seem hard, it is part of the game, and you can find some play in the game, because otherwise, why would you be here? Why would you be here? So it's not that bad. It's part of the journey. So this will allow you to realize that things are happening for you. That reaction is actually there for your growth. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So that's what I have for you today. If you enjoyed this kind of content, if this video helped you to learn how to stop dealing with reactions, then make sure you hit that like button, okay? If you're new to this channel, once again, I post a new video every single day. So if you want to stay updated, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Otherwise, the videos will not actually pop up on your newsfeed and you won't be able to see the videos. And also, I wanted to announce that I have a free guided meditation that is specifically designed to connect you deeper to the present moment, that will definitely be conducive to letting go of these unconscious reactions. So download that meditation. It's completely free. You can download it by hitting the link that's in the description box of this video. I'll also leave it as a comment in this video. It's completely free. So once again, hit that like button if you find this information useful. Have yourself a great day and see you in the next video.